During the Second World War, the probability of death as a prisoner of the Japanese was 10 to 20 times greater than the probability of dying in combat. The Japanese army believed in the samurai code of Bushido, the way of the warrior. It taught that to become a prisoner was disgraceful and suicide was preferable to capture or defeat. Bushido also governed the treatment of enemy prisoners. This book tells the stories of 6 POWs, Horyo in Japanese, from both sides of the conflict. As in all wars, the prisoners were civilians as well as military. Garth Dunn, a 20-year-old U.S. Marine stationed on the island of Guam, was among the American military personnel taken prisoner by the Japanese the day after Pearl Harbor. He survived 4 different camps, brutal beatings, starvation, and work as a slave labor in a Japanese steel mill. His last camp was 100 miles from Hiroshima, and he told how the atomic bomb saved his life and the lives of thousands of other POWs held by the Japanese. Simon and Lydia Peters were civilians, European expatriates living at a mine in the Philippines. Like thousands of non-combatants captured by the Japanese, their house and belongings were confiscated and they were separated and placed in different camps. Eventually released, they reunited and fled to the jungle for a harrowing existence in a no man's land between Philippine guerrilla raids and Japanese counterattacks. When near death, they were rescued by American forces. Mitsui Takahashi was a U.S. citizen of Japanese descent living in Malibu, California. Hers is another story of disruption, dislocation, loss of home, job, and belongings, and love and renewal. She symbolizes the plight of the 110,000 Japanese Americans who were unjustly imprisoned by America for the duration of the war. To those Japanese who failed to die in combat, suicide or dishonor were the likely alternatives. Some sought a third choice, not committing suicide or surrendering. They were stragglers who remained hiding in jungles long after the war ended. Sergeant Masashi Ito was shipped to Guam in 1944. After the Japanese defeat, he refused to surrender and remained hidden in the jungle until 1960. His long-lost diary told part of his amazing survival story. Ensign Kazuo Sakamaki was captain of one of 5 midget submarines that tried to penetrate Pearl Harbor during the attack. All were lost, including their crews, with the exception of Sakamaki. He suffered the embarrassment of being Japanese POW number 1, captured the day after Pearl Harbor, and had the further humiliation of being the only Japanese POW for 7 months. These 6 POWs have one thing in common. They were survivors. With fortitude and courage, they survived when so many others did not. Despite their desperate circumstances, they never stopped counting the days until freedom. Their stories are an inspiration to future generations.